Yes, stress test is part of the general services we offer as a business intelligence. A stress test is
Welcome to Business Way TV. This is Vietnam edition. Today we will discuss about another very intriguing topic. What is business intelligence in Vietnam? And please welcome our special guest speaker, Mr. Nicolas Aasheim, the General Manager of Emerasia in Ho Chi Minh City.
Thank you.
So Nicolas, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Nicolas Aasheim and I'm the General Manager of Emerasia, which is a risk management consulting operating throughout Southeast Asia.
Yes, and I learned that in your company you also organize the stress test. And can you explain more about what is a stress test?
Yes, stress test is part of the general services we offer within the business intelligence. A stress test is an action meant to replicate as closely as possible an actual situation that is potentially threatening to you or to your company, absent the real dangers. The rationale behind such a test is to uncover any vulnerable areas, and once they've been uncovered, fix them so they can withstand the real problem should it ever occur. A simple example to illustrate this is what we call the intrusion test. We attempt to enter a house, and if the attempt is successful, then we will have uncovered the vulnerable areas. How did we get in? Was the door not properly closed? Was the lock not functioning? Why didn't the alarm ring go off? Was there an area on the premises that is not covered by the area, and so on? And once we have identified what doesn't work, it's easier to fix it. And of course, if the attempt is unsuccessful, then that means that the security setup functions well, has been well designed and is well implemented. So, in other words, a stress test aims at uncovering problems that before they actually occur by pretending they do.
Yes, I see. It means that a stress test is that you create a situation or you create a situation to find where is the weak points of the system.
Exactly. You might say we get an iron bar and we try to break it.
Yes.
And once if it breaks, we see where it is where was the breaking point. Yes. Maybe there was less metal at this place. Then maybe it was because it was badly designed. Yes. That's the idea. I'm not saying that we try to destroy everything we do the stress test, but the idea is to put pressure on a specific system.
Yes.
To see how it reacts
and
whether it reacts according to plan, which in this case means that everything's okay, or if it doesn't, and then we can determine why it didn't, and most important, then we can fix it.
Yes.
So it's not the uncovering problems is not a problem, because that's the whole point. There is a problem. Let's identify it and let's fix it.
That's very interesting. So can you share more about your experience in Emerasia?
Well, our company as a risk management consultancy, the essence of our trade is to identify risks and devise solutions to meet them. We have more than 20 years of experience in that area and can count on experts with proven track records. And while a certain number of threats are obvious to everyone, there are others, and those are the most dangerous ones, that lurk unbeknownst to everybody. So we always strive to think outside the box so that we can identify threats or risks that have somehow remained under the radar. And once the risks have been identified, it becomes much easier to find a solution to fix them, or if not to eliminate them, at least to mitigate their potential impact.
Oh, I see. That's a very interesting part when or you fix them or you mitigate the consequence something. And then can you share with us a case study that you did in the past so we can understand more about your job?
Okay. Let's see. A few years back, a client contacted us because seeking our assistance in explaining a discrepancy he had identified between his figures and what the sales department was reporting to him. So after carrying out a thorough assessment of the situation, we suggested that the person most likely responsible for this problem was his sales manager. We suggested then to the client to carry out a stress test, and we did that by contacting the sales manager under a false identity, asking him to provide us information that he was not supposed to give. And after, while very cautious, the sales manager accepted, and we played the game for a while until we had all the evidence in our hands that proving his wrongdoings and establishing beyond doubt that he was the scammer. And once we had that, we handed that information to the client, who confronted him and fired him. And needless to say, implemented much more thorough procedures after that.
Oh, I see. That's a very interesting topic when we try to see about the integrity and the reputations of the staff in a company, something like that. So, so how you organize a stress test like that?
Well, the first thing and most important thing is to have an open and comprehensive conversation with the client on what exactly is the problem and where it lies. Obviously, there need not be a problem for a client to wish to carry out such a test. Maybe we're dealing with a general manager who's thinking far ahead and prefers to pay some extra money to carry out a stress test just to avoid much greater expenses later on. But usually when clients contact us, it's because they're already facing a problem. So the fundamental point is once we have had that conversation with the client, we present him with a plan, and he has to agree. We are completely transparent on what we plan to do, and he has to agree to it. Because obviously we're going to put his system in a difficult position, and he must, in order for that to be effective, he must agree to our.
He must approve.
He must accept
Yes.
that we will give that kind of medicine.
Oh, I see. So it's quite sometimes it's that hard for the client to work on that method.
Sometimes they are a bit they can be a bit reluctant because they are afraid that we're actually going to do the real thing. But no, what we're doing is we're faking it, but faking in such a way as to reflect reality as much as possible, so that if the problem actually occurs, then he will be prepared and he will have put in place the necessary steps to prevent it from becoming a very big problem.
I see. I understand. So, because that the activities of your company is interesting like that. So, are there many companies that choose to do the stress test?
Well, too few, in my opinion. It's regrettable, but it's understandable. There aren't enough companies who accept to take who see the point in carrying out such tests, unfortunately.
Oh, I see. So, in your opinions, there are quite many companies that they should do a stress test, but they didn't do. So, what do you think about the reasons that they are still hesitating?
Well, I'd say it's a very human bias. Unless you're facing a pressing problems, you tend to not to think about it and disregard the necessary steps you need to take to avoid it from becoming a very big problem. So it's the if only I had known syndrome. Well, actually, the thing is, you can to a certain degree know, but that means that you need to be willing to take some time to think about it and call upon proven expertise, our expertise in this case, if I may say. And because we can help you, we can help the client identify the risks, and we identify, more importantly, identify solutions, so that to avoid that these risks, if they ever become reality, it create a huge problem, create mayhem. That's in a way, you might say the stress is just a form of insurance.
It's very interesting about what you say when you try to fight the problem and then you propose a solution to minimize the consequence when it happens something, or just eliminate the consequence. That's really good for a company.
It is. We can never guarantee that we fully eliminate a problem, but if a problem is identified, the risk is properly identified, and we know what to do should it occur, then it becomes the damage it can wreak is less important, and the psychological effect is very beneficial, because you know if you have a problem and you know what to do, then it's you don't panic.
I see.
But if you have a problem and you don't know what to do, then that's when you may start to act in a way that is not well thought.
Yes, I totally agree with you for that. And I know that stresses is just one part in the business intelligence. And what are the other parts?
Well, obviously, business intelligence is much more than just stress tests. Stress tests are a form of the defensive part of business intelligence, the aim of which being to secure your perimeter in its very broad meaning. It can be either your physical premises, your internal procedures, the loyalty of your staff, facing the blackmail situations, corruption, cyber criminality, even physical violence. But as I said, business intelligence, it's much more than that. No business endeavor is fully free from risk. If that were the case, we would all be entrepreneurs. But while developing your business, you know there are some risks, you're aware that there are some risks around you, and it's only natural for you to seek to reduce them as much as possible. And the way to go about it is to gather as much information as possible on the course you want your business to follow, and avoid sailing into uncharted waters. And some of the information required is readily available, but some is not. And that's when you call Emerasia.
Oh, I see. I think that today I learned a lot of new things about how we can minimize the risk of a company when we start to operate, because you see that for example, international company, when it comes to a new market like Vietnam, they have a lot of things that they didn't know. So that's the reason why maybe they should find a way to minimize the risk of business and also of operation. I think it will be good for them, and also it will be great for their strategies in the future.
Yes, when entering a new market, being a bit overcautious might not be the worst possible path ahead.
Yes, that's a great advice, I think. I work on a market entry. I work for a market entry firm, and I will remember that, and I think it will be good for our future clients.
Okay,
Thank
I
you.
hope so too.
Yes, thank you very much for your sharing, and thank you for showing us a new way to do the risk management. Thank you.
Thank you very much.